In a lawsuit that has some indirect influence on the future of Disneyland opening anytime soon, a decision has come down against Governor Newsom and his use of executive power. We'll be talking about this potentially huge win for Disneyland fans and its effect on theme parks statewide next on Fresh Baked. Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Fresh Baked. So you may recall that as part of our coverage of a Zoom press conference held by the presidents of all the major theme parks in California on the day after the state of California and Governor Newsom officially announced the yellow tier for theme parks. And it was asked during that press conference if any of the theme parks were planning to take any legal action against the state. Now, the theme park specifically didn't say anything. The question was answered by the Kappa rep, who said only all options are on the table, which is basically nothing at all. But we did also mention that there was another group of people who were trying to bring a lawsuit against the state, against Governor Newsom, and that this lawsuit did have some potential to upset things with regard to theme park guidelines. The lawsuit brought by California Assemblyman James Gallagher and Kevin Kiley sought to restrict the governor's use of executive powers to create law, asserting that those executive orders were unconstitutional. And the judge did rule that those executive orders were unconstitutional. Now, the decision doesn't undo those decisions. In fact, the only result of this case was that an injunction was placed against the governor saying he can't enact any further executive orders. But what it does clear up is that these are just rules. They're not law and thus not enforceable as law. Now, I should note at this point that this suit was specific to an executive order that sought to increase the state's capacity to allow for voting by mail as part of a social distancing effort. So, strictly speaking, this case has really nothing to do at all with theme park guidelines. But that actually misses the bigger picture. In fact, the men who brought the suit up front said that this case wasn't really about the voting issue at all. It's about all of the executive orders and the issue of their validity. And like I said, the judge agreed and he issued that injunction stopping Governor Newsom. He can no longer issue these executive orders or those orders similar to the ones he's done so far. But it doesn't undo those orders that he's already placed. However, the case does give precedent. It does give lawyers more ammo in that it has been decided or decreed that those orders were made unconstitutionally. And that would likely be enough grounds for a future case. If, let's say, somebody wanted to come to court and say, hey, look, these theme park guidelines are unconstitutional, and therefore they must be stricken. Of course, the only catch here is that, as I mentioned, these rules are still in effect, and they would still carry a fine. Disney would just open the parks and then pay the fines as they occurred. Of course, this is a situation that I don't think Disney is particularly interested in. They don't want to break any state rules, whether they're constitutional or not, and they are still rules. They don't want to come off, I don't think, as a rebellious company, kind of like Elon Musk, who definitely is a rebel in that sense. That's not an image that they're trying to portray. But what they can do is use this as leverage to sort of soften the governor's position on the guidelines. In fact, it sounds like that first move is already being made. Today, the mayors of 8 major cities in California penned another formal request for the governor to reduce theme park guidelines from yellow down to orange. And it's a good move, I think, because the governor knows that his power has been neutered just a bit. And he probably understands that if these were to go to court, it's likely a win for the cities and for the counties and for Disneyland. So he's more likely now to negotiate. And there's that word again. Negotiate now rather than face, lawsuits down the line that probably are not good for his political resume. Now, you might be asking, why ask for orange? Why stop there? Why not go ahead and take him to court, win the case, and then let the parks be open without restriction? And I think it's because they don't want the park to open without restrictions. So many want to make this an all or nothing game, but the reality is I think they want to do the right thing for both sides. They want the parks to reopen, and not just for their bottom lines, but for the bottom lines of all the working families that depend on them, all the businesses that surround the parks. But they also don't want it to be, the Wild West and have things just be wide open. They want restrictions because they want things to be as safe as possible. They want both, as do many others. So they're asking for orange tier and not yellow. And believe me, that's a tall order still. Things have not been getting better here in Orange County, and us being still in the red tier. We've been moving further away from orange rather than getting closer to it. So it's no gimme that even if they were to get that the parks would be opening anytime soon. So when then? Well, it's still indefinitely, because what we don't know is how Newsom is in fact going to respond to the ruling. He could, for example, simply disregard it, which seems to be an effective political move these days. But if movement is made and tiers are changed, I still feel like we're a couple of months away. For example, it's my assumption, it's my understanding that a county can't just achieve orange status and then immediately they're able to open everything up. I assume that they'd have to stay in that orange tier for, I don't know, a couple weeks at least, just to demonstrate a sort of consistency, a stability in that tier. So first, Orange County has to get to orange tier, which is, to be honest, not very likely anytime soon. Not this week, not next week, and who knows, maybe it could be 3 weeks before, because it's not a thing that can just suddenly change drastically. It's typically done incrementally. But let's just say, for argument's sake, that it's 2 weeks. We get to orange tier in 2 weeks, and then it's another couple weeks in the orange tier before they can open things up. Then they have to make final park preps and train cast members. Now, I'm going to assume, again, that there's going to be some overlap between, like, let's say they get to orange, maybe they start calling in cast members for training while they're in this sort of limbo, waiting for them to finalize that orange tier status, assuming, again, that that's what we get. So it's possible, I mean, optimistically speaking, the most optimistic I think we could say is a month, but I think it's more likely to, just to kind of, account for any kind of variables. So I guess what I'm saying really is that there isn't a clear path to getting the parks reopened. There isn't a clear path to getting any kind of estimated date. What I will say, though, is that I think this story is going to unfold quickly. I think we'll know where we stand pretty soon with respect to Newsom and the rulings, and with respect to any sort of potential lawsuits down the line. Unless, that is, Newsom keeps on fighting this, which he may still do. And if that's the case, things could drag on for quite a while, and we could be looking more like a year than a month or two. But my money, personally, is on that not happening. And I don't really have any information to base that on other than faith and hope. That's the way I choose to view it. I want to be optimistic. And with that, I want to ask you guys what your thoughts are. Is this cause for optimism, or is this just another red herring to give us hope where there isn't any? Let us know in the comments below, and until next time, guys, please remember to subscribe to our channel if you haven't already, and to turn the notification bell on. You can also follow us on Instagram at _FreshBaked, and on Twitter at FreshBakedDizzy. That's fresh with no E. And if you enjoy the show and want to show your support, please do consider joining our Patreon campaign at patreon.com/freshbaked. There are links below in the description and also on our main channel page for all that and more. Otherwise, thanks again for watching, everybody. Please be safe. Please be kind to one another. We love you very much. We'll see you next time. Fresh Baked.